Someone hit a deer outside our house the other night.
Oh yeah, I heard, dude. Yeah, I know nothing about this. What?
Yeah, so I told you it happened, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't go into detail. So, it was just an experience. So, like, I'm not a hunter, but I know that's not because I'm against it or anything. I'm like into guns and firearms and shooting and everything, and I'm friends with lots of hunters. I just have never. I fish a lot, but never have actually gone hunting. Instead, apparently, my trophy is roadkill. As of lately, we live out in the country, as you know, and there was a quite elderly gentleman who was driving his big SUV. He hit a deer, basically, like right just off of our property, and killed it. And it was a doe, like full grown doe. And police came out, filed a report for his insurance purposes. And I have friends who hunt, so I knew that they might be interested in getting the deer. So I said, yeah, I'll take it. Plus, I wanted to get this guy out of the road. Like, there's people flying by. It was very cold that night. He was very old. His phone wasn't working. So, like, I gave him mine. And he's like, it was not the best situation. There's, like, this deer in the road. We're in the road. Like, so I went and, like, got him. I loaded the deer up into my truck. And I just told him to drive just, like, another 200 feet, into my driveway. And we'll just wait for the police there. And so we did, and they handled it and took off. And then I called my friends who I thought would want it. And turns out they're completely, like, they had gone hunting and they got more than their fill. They had been giving some venison, deer meat to friends and family and everything. So they couldn't take it. And so it's like, well, all right. So what do I do now with this deer? And they told me I could take it to Alwyn and Sons, which is a meat processing facility near us. Jake, you know them probably.
Oh, yeah.
I took the deer there that next morning, and I just left it it was very cold that night, so I just left it in my truck, and it was fine. And I kind of thought that I should probably field dress it, but I just, again, like, it wasn't like I was.
Oh.
I didn't.
Oh, I was like, how the hell do you, what?
No, so I didn't, because, like, it's not like I had gone hunting. Like, I did not plan for this to happen. I actually had planned to spend, like, the evening with my family, and I had already spent too much time dealing with this guy and the deer and making some phone calls and all this stuff. So, my buddy was like, hey, you're probably fine. It's really cold. Just take it up there in the morning, like 10 hours from now, and you'll be fine. So I did, and I get it all the way there and find out that they won't take it unless it's field dressed. And I still got to get to work that next morning. So I come home, I take the deer in our backyard. It's cold, it's snowy, obviously, and I've never done this before. I watched like 2 YouTube videos, and I grab one of my big hunting knives and go out and field dress the thing. And it actually
Based
was
off
not
of 2 videos.
Actually, it was just one video, but
David.
But it was interesting. It was a very interesting experience.
Was it frozen?
So this is the good and bad of it. And I need people watching or listening. I need you to weigh in on this. If you're a hunter or if you know anything about this, because here was the result. Okay. So much of the deer was frozen. As I got inside, though, this is where it gets a little graphic. So, like, if you're not into this, you can skip ahead. But there was still a little bit of warmth, like in the abdominal cavity of this deer. Like when I got in there, and I just put on gloves and stuff because, like, well, for a few reasons. So there's no reason to, like, expose yourself to anything if
parasites.
Some of that stuff, yeah. So, but I mean, I'm in there, and it was still, like, kind of steaming inside the abdomen, and as I'm pulling things out and everything, and which again was kind of an experience. But typically, my understanding is that the idea is you field dress the deer right away so that it doesn't, because it can spoil the meat, and you don't want all that heat and warmth in there for very long. And so, but it was still so cold out. But anyway, so field dressed it. Got blood all over in the snow. We decided that night what we could keep was the heart and the liver. So we decided to cook that and prepare that and eat it.
Did you already eat it?
We already ate it. It was not good. It was not good at all. I think because it sat for too long.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't get, some kind of food poisoning or anything, but like,
Ugh.
it's actually quite gross now that I think about it, that like
It's very gross.
that the liver just sat in that like warm deer's abdomen for 12 hours, 10 hours. And, but
There's going to be so many
we're still
comments
here.
that are just
We're
like, this dumb motherfucker. Like,
So here's an interesting thing. I wanted to share this with you. I found this very interesting. My buddy told me when I called him, he's like, hey, actually still here. I'll just share this with everybody. The deer was not killed right away when it was hit. It was dying, and but it was definitely not living its best life in that moment. Like it needed to die and be done. And so I was on the phone with my wife, who was back at the house, and I told her to bring my gun down because I was just going to shoot it and kill it, and like because this thing was certainly going to die, and didn't want to prolong it. And so it didn't happen, thankfully, because as I found out later on the Illinois Department of Natural Resources website, you're not allowed to do that. It's illegal to do that. You cannot shoot a deer, even if it's been hit. It's for a few reasons, but I think it's mainly because then it becomes difficult to prove that you didn't shoot it first. And I think also they just don't want people discharging weapons in a variety of directions, killing deer and everything. But so I didn't know that. Like I would have broken that law first off. Secondly, if you they call it a salvage deer. So if you actually hit a deer, you get first rights to that deer. So if there's anybody else around or whatever, like if you're the one that hit it, you get the first say as to whether you want to keep it. But whether it's you or whether it's somebody else who comes along, like in my case, I was like second on the scene. You still have to file a salvage deer like permit or form or whatever on the DNR website. So you have to say basically, hey, here's what happened, here's when it happened, I'm claiming this deer, and they issue you a number and you print it and you have it so that you can take it to get it processed. And if you get stopped as you're taking it to get it processed, again, you can say like, I have rights to this deer. I've filed the paperwork.
that is way too much paperwork for a hit deer.
Yeah. So here's what's crazy though. I found this very weird as I'm reading the requirements. There's very few. One is that you be like, in order to do this, in order to fill out paperwork, to literally salvage roadkill and like take it and go get it processed. Like this is not a high bar. Like it's not like, what are the requirements to kill the fattened calf or to shoot like, I don't know, a Siberian tiger. Like this is roadkill that will sit there and rot on the roads of Illinois. But you have to be a resident of the state, and this is the crazy part. You can't be behind on child support. Like that, and I read that and I'm like, what? That's the most random. Also, like, if you're already behind on child support, like you're probably not in the best place in life. Like things probably aren't going your way. So like, if you want to eat a salvage roadkill deer, like for crying out loud, like just let the poor person eat, not the poor person, but I mean like let that person eat their salvage deer. And anyway, so this is all like new experience for me.
But one of the first things in the story of Robin Hood, one of the kings was trying to starve out the people, and he made it illegal to hunt in his woods. And he happened to own all the land. So basically hunting was illegal. So the only place you could buy food was through his approved and taxed ways. So not to say it's much different, but
well, I don't know.
I happen to know somebody who spent time in jail for shooting a deer on their property and eating it, and they were very financially broke. So he couldn't afford like good lawyers.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's like I get it, I understand it in a lot of ways, but at the same time, the idea that I, like a responsible gun owner who knows what I'm doing, couldn't drag that deer out of the road in the dark. Like, it's not like anyone would see me brandishing a weapon or something, but the idea that I couldn't drag it over. I know where the gas line and the electric line is on my property and stuff. Like and we have 3 acres. We've got I could I could kill this deer safely, but I'm not allowed to. And again, I'm glad I didn't, because there would have been some explaining to do when the police showed up and there was a bullet hole in the
So I have a
skull
little bit
that
of a
deer.
story. Have I told you the one about my scenario with hitting a deer? And well, let me tell
I don't
you.
know. I don't know if you.
So-
this wasn't recent, right?
No, it was back when I was about 15 years old, and I'm with my grandpa. And he's just a rough, tough, like backwoods man, like smart, brilliant. Well, we're heading back from someplace, and his two sons, who happen to be cops, are behind us. My grandpa's going along, and all of a sudden my grandpa goes, brace yourself. And then boom, we hit a deer. It takes the deer's legs and just crushes them, shoots that animal way above us, over our vehicle, just on the ground, just flopping around, trying to get up with its broken legs. And before we can even open the doors, my two uncles were out of their car, ran around our car, had shot that thing twice in the head. And then they said, Jake, grab a leg. And I've been grabbing a leg, shake it like this. And we throw it in the back of their truck, slam it up, and we're already off on the road. My grandpa's car was like leaking antifreeze. And I'm just sitting there like, what the just happened? And we get back, my uncle hands me a knife and goes, cut it. And we just started. That's my first time field dressing an animal. We skinned it and they ate it, like I think the following day. Hey, thanks for watching this clip. If you want to see the full podcast, be sure to click on the link in the description. And if you feel like it, hit subscribe.